Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to your Smack Attack. That's right, it's your Smack Attack because it is by the people, for the people. Here you go, as the great Joe Atherton has said. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is your boy John Enright. Not here alone. As always, calling in the heavyweights for the big help. Calling in the vet, JB Williams. Sarah, how are you this morning?
Lovely.
Yes. I think that's the first time I've actually used your name. It
Is
felt
it?
it felt weird. I've just always called you the
Did
vet.
it?
I've never said your
Well,
name. You know,
whatever
if
you feel more comfortable with is fine.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I'm still probably going to call you the vet just in conversation in general.
I
But
think it's just easier.
yeah, it is. It rolls off the tongue well. It's very nice. So, you and I kind of pre-discussed. We definitely wanted to start the show with uh, talking about Jay Briscoe. I have not had a chance to follow up completely. This week has been crazy, but I did hear about it.
Okay.
So from what I know he died, and from what I'm hearing was in a car accident.
That's right.
That's all I know, that he died in a car accident. And then I think I saw something about there's a GoFundMe for a daughter who's in the hospital. So I don't know the whole
Then
story because like I said, I've been in meetings all week and things like that. I just know he passed and things along those lines. So
I believe he was driving both of his daughters to cheerleading practice. I
mm,
don't know if they both had cheerleading practice or if they were just both driving. And from what I had heard, the account that I had heard is that some woman was coming in the other lane and swerved into Jay's lane for what reason I don't know, and there was a head-on collision and both the drivers died as a result. So don't know what happened. If you would voluntarily swerve out of the way of something, you would think you swerve off the road,
yeah,
not into another lane. So I could only speculate as to the reasons of why this may have happened, but unfortunately, very tragic.
mm,
Jay didn't make it. Um, One of his daughters is was I don't want to get their names wrong, so I won't
mm-hmm.
say which one's which. I know their names, but I don't want to. One of them had to have surgery
Right.
as a result. The other one was in stable condition, resting, so not still hurt, but not requiring immediate surgery or anything like that,
Mm.
as far as I know. So, and that happened on Tuesday. I assume in the afternoon sometime.
Mm.
Because why? When else would you have cheerleading practice on a weekday? It would have had to have been after school, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and let's see. The only other thing I can think of that may be relevant information, just to kind of give you the sense of gravity that this has on the community, of you know the Delaware, Sussex County, whatever they're from or whatever, is that the schools in the the schools in the district all closed on
Wow.
Wednesday.
Mm.
Just everybody, nobody has had anything bad to say about Jay Briscoe,
Yeah.
and just a huge part of the community, family man. Um,
Mm.
just an absolute, it's a tragedy. I strongly recommend that everybody that is even remotely touched or interested or anything in the situation, I would direct you to, and put your own personal things aside or whatever you may think, but I would direct you to the first, hour or so of the Jim Cornette's Drive Through
Mm.
podcast and listen to him talk about, Jay and everything that along the situation, the history, you know, personal impressions, happy memories, fun stories. It's a little difficult to listen to at times because of it's so sad, but I strongly recommend anybody listen to that, even if you're not a regular Cornette listener. You're going to want to hear that. You're going to hear a side of Jim Cornette that's not what the people that hate him say about him and try to, minimize him as, but it's also just a really good insight into the man from somebody that, look, you can listen to a bunch of podcasts or whatever. You're not going to hear from somebody that knew Jay or worked with Jay or spent as much time around Jay as Jim did, that has like such a big platform. Most people only maybe met him a few times or whatever, work with him a few times or whatever. But, Jim was there at Ring of Honor with the Briscoes. So he knows their whole history from when they started and everything like that. So if you really want to hear about the man, that's probably your best place right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting because, I know a lot of people down here who have known Jay, worked with him, like you said, not necessarily extensively as Jim Cornette, but, I guess to stooge this off a little bit, Wednesday, I went to Plano. Was it Wednesday, Thursday? I can't remember. My days are all whatever. And because I was with my friend Aaron Mashowitz, who was known as Jackson Stone, as a professional wrestler down here, and he has a podcast about mental health and has wrestlers and different things on. And I texted him. I said, "Hey, I just heard about Jay Briscoe. Do we need to reschedule?" Because I think this was like Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon when I first heard about it. I guess people have been knowing the night before or things like that. I didn't hear about it till midday or right before I had to leave to go over there. I said, "Do we need to reschedule?" And he goes, "No, it's cool. I knew him, but not super great. But it's a tragedy. But it would be good to come talk and just to kind of help me out a little bit if you just come over and we continue to talk about our subject and whatever." I was like, "Okay, cool." So that's kind of when I found out first, and then I've been trying to read up and keep up with everything, but just not been able to. But it's one of those things where when you hear car accident and then you hear kids in the car, having seen how much he was a family man, how much he cared for his daughters, boy, that just made my heart sink, because knowing that his kids were in the car, and I think it wasn't until Thursday or Friday I found out about the daughter going in for surgery and the GoFundMe. And I mean, I contributed what little I could give, which if you want to, guys, go contribute to that GoFundMe. I'll try to find the link for it and put it in the chat later. But because one, as a dad, you never want to hear someone's kid getting hurt, especially with something like this. And it's a car accident. That's just the scariest thing in the world, because in a situation like this, there's no control. I mean, it's
most people are on the road every day.
Yeah.
At least once. And that's another thing that, I think that Jim touched on, was that you get used to, as a wrestling fan, hearing about certain lifestyles or things, to where that these deaths, while tragic, you have like sort of like a trail that you can see leading up to an unfortunate, whether it's drug abuse or whatever the case.
Yeah.
It's not any of that. This is a sudden accident that could have happened to anyone. So it's very important for everybody to remember to be as safe as you can, and don't, a lot of states here in California, it's flat out illegal to text and drive. Do you think it stops anybody from doing that? No. As if anybody's life is so important that a message can't wait, until you get where you're going, or even to a stoplight or something. But a lot of states, because they just don't have as much traffic as California does, it's not necessarily illegal to do some of those things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that something like this can't happen at any time. This is a small community where these guys are from.
Yeah.
It's a very rural area where he lived. And so it's like, he probably knew this person, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Like, what, it can happen anywhere. So everybody, please be careful at all times. Driving ain't no joke. Just because you do it every day, don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Focus on the road always. Wear your seatbelt. Do everything that you can to make sure that you make it where you're going every single day.
Yeah, that was me this week. I think it was Wednesday. I drove to Plano back and forth, and that's 80 miles one way. Going through Fort Worth, Arlington, and Dallas traffic on all three of those situations, which is a mess. And then yesterday, I had a training in Plano. I had to be there for 8:30, so that means I had to leave at 6:30 in the morning. Same thing. You had to go through Fort Worth, Arlington, and Dallas, the three most populated parts of the Metroplex, driving through traffic in main parts of town. And people would text or do whatever, and I have the feature on my phone or on my car where it'll read your text to you, and then you can voice text it back. So I'm not I could just push a button and it reads it to me, and it says, "Do you want to reply?" And I say yes or no, but I never take my eyes off the road. It'll tell me who texted. So if you text me, say the vet texted, and then it'll say, but it's only for text. It's not for anything. Anything else, it stays in my phone. It doesn't notify. I don't look at it. But I had a friend who had car issues yesterday, and they had questions. It's a female, and she's like, "I don't understand what this means." And so I'm like, and she's a teacher, so I'm like, okay, well, let me help walk you through this. But it was all that. But still, it was just, especially after hearing what happened Wednesday, I'm like, my phone stays in a compartment connected to my car, so that if it's a text and it's important, I can go, okay, well, let me voice respond to it. All I have to do is push a button on my steering wheel, so my hands never leave my steering wheel. I'm keeping aware of everything. I'm just talking and driving, and wherever it comes out, it's a voice to text. So however it comes out, people know. If it sounds weird, that's what's going to happen. But I ain't looking at your text until I get to a place if it's more important, or call me. If that's a lot of times hey, with her, I said, hey, if this is important, if you've got time, call me before you get into work. And so, because I'm driving. Okay. So we had a 2-minute conversation about check engine light. Okay, this is where you need to go. Go to this place. They do free check engine lights to make sure it's nothing serious. If it's not, and then call me after you're done with work today to let me know, because you're going to go in after work. And if it's serious, call me and we'll talk about it, because I'll probably be driving back. So,
yeah, dude, Dr. Jargo, I text him every once in a while, and sometimes it'll hit me with that, I'm driving with do not disturb on. If you need an emergency, I'm just like, all right, well, I'm good. I'm annoyed that I get that message, but I'm also happy that he's, he's putting his safety and his family first.
Yeah. And I think AT&T does that. I think it's a setup to where it automatically will respond, hey, I'm driving right now. No text is worth a life kind of thing. But you have to put that program on your phone. I think it comes either installed if you get an AT&T phone, or you have to put it on there. But either way, I think it's a brilliant, message. But this is not. We don't know the details of the situation. We just know, like you said, she swerved into his car, and both drivers died. So it's just a tragic event in general. And this is one of those weird ones, because it's not like he was running to a show, was late night or whatever. He was taking his girls to cheerleading practice, seemingly innocuous thing, and it's just a reminder that life is real. Life can come at you from any place. Call your parents, call your loved ones, tell them you love them, and do the best you can to be safe. That's all you can do. I just got off the phone with my dad before getting on here, because I hadn't talked to him, and I'd just been doing all this driving this week. It's like, I need to call my dad, and he's out driving. I think he's coming to go see one of my nieces do a basketball game. So, I was like, all right, be careful. I love you, Dad. I'll talk to you later. I always, when I have my conversations with him, I always tell him I love him, because my dad's 74. He's not old. He's not at a point where he's going to kick anytime soon. But at 74, you never know at this point either. We're playing with house money a little bit here. So I always make sure to tell him I love him before I get off the phone.
Do you have any, do you want to share any Briscoe memories or some favorite things or impressions? Maybe you remember the first time you saw them or what you thought?
Yeah, so actually, the Briscoes were on the very first live Ring of Honor show I ever went to, way back in like 2017. I was actually looking at my pictures the other day about that. They came to Dallas, and it was one of the first live wrestling shows I'd ever went to with Jacob. Ring of Honor used to do the deal where they had preset people you could meet before the show, and then
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
buy the tickets, and then you'd hand the ticket. Tag teams were so much, whatever. And the Briscoes weren't available then. And I think at the time they were heels because it was the Young Bucks, Cody, Jonathan Gresham, and I forget who else was there. And Jonathan Gresham was just getting started, and poor guy had nobody. Everybody was wanting to see Cody and the Young Bucks, and we got to meet them.
Right. That was their
Yeah,
that was that brief time that they had, and I
yeah,
believe I went to a Ring of Honor show in 2017. I went to
yeah.
Death Before Dishonor in Las Vegas, but
Yeah, this was just a random show they did in Dallas. Cody was the world champ. He fought Christopher Daniels in a Texas death match. Cody lit the table on fire, and Christopher Daniels actually got caught on fire, and they had to escort him out. It was a crazy match. But like I remember watching the Briscoes because I'd only seen it on TV before, and I watched them battle Tama Tonga and the Young Bucks, and I'm like, okay, these are the bad guys because I didn't recognize that Bullet Club was supposed to be the bad guys. You liked them, so but I was like, man, there's something different about these guys. Like they're dirty in the sense of they look dirty. They look
yeah.
like just down home. Like there's
And
nothing
when you say
fancy about.
dirty, what you're saying is they look like they have dirt smeared on them,
Yes.
not like that they're evil
No.
or
No.
like
No.
that they're
Yeah.
going to cheat. They look like they're filthy.
Yes, they do. And I mean, it was just kind of one of those things of like, okay, these guys are different. Like they're not. There's nothing flashy about them. They literally look like they came off a chicken farm. Like they. I'm just going, okay, cool. And watching their match, I forget who they wrestled that night, but it wasn't the Bucks because the Bucks wrestled somebody else. But I just remember watching it, going, wow, these guys are impressive. And then I started following them more. And then the cool part was where we were situated. We were right by the entrance. So as guys would come by, I'd get pictures, and Jacob was by the end, and I would be like, "Hey, can I get a picture with my kid?" And both of them stopped for Jacob to take a picture. Oh yeah, man, come on! And they almost broke character to take a picture with Jacob, and which was super cool, and they made the faces and everything, and then walked back to the back and post match, and it was super cool to see that and to see that moment where they stopped being the wrestlers and they were human, and they saw my kid and they're like, yeah, let's take a picture with your kid. Cool. And they just finished a match. They didn't have to stop, and they did for him, and it made his moment, and it helped foster a love for wrestling. That whole night, that Ring of Honor night, so many people stopped to get a picture with Jacob or do something, and it was just Ring of Honor helped build our love for wrestling. And so I'm always eternally grateful to the Briscoes for that, and especially them, because they were one of the first ones to stop and take that moment with Jacob. And so from that moment forward, I was like, I'm in with these guys. I don't care. They're heel, bad guy. I'm in with these guys. And, I never got to see them since, unfortunately, live, but man, that was an impactful moment for me to see that.
I'm glad that you brought that up because, well, not only in a small way, I'm glad because when we were talking about it on a Next Level Wrestling Review, it was Ray obviously, and we also had RBV on with us. So, it was a pretty somber mood, and
Yeah.
we were all pretty emotional about it at the time. And I believe I erroneously said that I had never got a chance to see the Briscoes, like in person, like at a show. But that's not true, because now I remember that not only did I see them at that Death Before Dishonor show in 2017, but I saw them work twice because they had a match. I was just looking it up as you were talking, of course, paying attention.
Yeah.
But I was looking it up to see that not only did they beat, like it was them and Bully Ray versus the Kingdom, and they won that match to get a shot at the 6-man titles later on in the night, which was Hangman Page and the Young Bucks.
Nice.
So I saw 2 Briscoes matches that night, but I had just forgotten. That's just where my memory's at these days. Not because they didn't make an impression. I can think back and assuredly believe that my 2017 self was very excited to be in the building with those guys, and they would be something that drew me. The real draw for that particular night was the fact that was Minoru Suzuki versus Cody Rhodes, which is Suzuki's first match in the United States in like 20 something years or something at that point. So even though he's been doing his tours lately, back at that time he hadn't done it in a long time. So that's what originally got to see me. But of course I'm thinking, well, the Briscoes are going to be there, and whoever else is. Well, actually, there was nobody else. I only cared about the Briscoes and Minoru Suzuki. Let's be real, but. That being said, the bigger point, that's my little selfish point, but the bigger point that I'm glad that you brought that up is that's what you're going to see when anybody's talking about these guys. They have a story like that of how great a guys these were, and how, whether it's their peers in wrestling, their fellow boys, or whether it's fans, you're not going to find people saying anything bad about them. So it's just, you add your story to the humongous list of people that just have nothing but, that's what makes it so extra heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because, if somebody dies, that's, it's like kind of a piece of shit. Sometimes it's like, well, I don't want you to die, but,
right.
Universally loved and respected and all those things, it just makes it that, and a random accident, not anything you can blame him for. That makes it all like much harder a pill to swallow, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the fact this proves the character of the man, I think, is the fact that Michael Cole specifically said something about it last night on the beginning of the show, especially with the Viking Raiders wearing the armbands, and then you saw later some Kevin Owens and some of the other guys who had wrestled with him. But the fact that Michael Cole specifically said something and spoke very nice words about, Jay, I think that says a lot about the character of the man and his impact on the industry, for that reason. If you didn't know anything about the man, last night that a rival company took time out of their broadcast to talk about this man and what he meant to the industry and to everybody he was wrestling there that night, that I think that says a world about the man. And
some people found out watching NXT.
Yeah.
Because Vic Joseph during the show, like, it would have been breaking news at that point. But in the middle of the show, he had to make the announcement.
Wow.
So they actually had us, like, we talked about this again, Next Level Wrestling Review, channel@2.com. But anyway, we talked about it, how there was supposedly a sketch that was supposed to happen, or an in-ring deal that was supposed to happen, where the New Day were going to hold a funeral for Pretty Deadly or whatever, and ended up not doing it.
Right.
On the fly, they changed the show. So, I mean, I'm sure that the WWE would have done something like that, regardless of all these tumultuous times that they're going through as a company with, this political intrigue and all this other shit that, we're constantly hearing things about. I'm sure they still would have mentioned something, but I mean, like you said, it's important too, because the people that don't follow this, they're only WWE marks. They don't really understand that wrestling exists. Maybe they will go. Maybe they will look up, oh, look at these guys. Oh, here's some stuff on YouTube. Oh, these guys are awesome. Okay, let me go to this GoFundMe page. Let me donate something, or just enjoy the career that this man had and be entertained by him, and realize that there's something outside of the WWE that you can also enjoy, and support other, wrestlers, so that we can have, hopefully one day we'll have more Jay Briscoes and Briscoe brothers to come up for the next generation of the business. I mean, we have to make people aware of the greats, not only just the great performers, but the great human beings in the industry, because there's so much negativity in it. We really have to work harder to highlight And we're all guilty of like making fun of things or saying how this is, and we're going to talk about this fucking show, which is very bad at certain points, very good at certain points, very bad at others, quite a polar opposites. And we do that, but we're doing it in the service of entertainment. Like when I'm burying stuff, it's half-assed just to make you guys laugh. Most of it I don't really care that much about, but I'm trying to listen. You guys are spending your day with us and sharing your time with us, and we're here to entertain you. So I want to make you guys laugh at home by talking about how bad some of the stuff is. I want to surely highlight when people do a good job. People like, Walter, who's doing a great job with what he's given to do and things like that. But, the whole idea of raising up the wrestling, fan base out of all the negativity we see, which is mostly confined to the social media. It's nice to go on social media and then just see like a wall of people saying nothing but wonderful things about Jay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need. We need more of. It shouldn't have to take this for people to act like that.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's just how it always goes.
Yeah, we lose the good ones, and then that's the hard part is the good ones go, but yet sometimes we don't make that change or that difference, and it's that's the hard part about it. But someone, and I wanted to see if you agreed with this or not. They talked about their last match, that they had was a crazy good one, which was the RH Final Battle match here in Arlington, which was Jay and Mark versus Cash and Dax for the ROH team titles. I saw that later. I did not get to see it. I wanted to go to the show live, but the only thing left were tickets, and they were crazy expensive, and I wasn't going to pay for that. But how do you feel? Like, did you watch any of that match at all?
Oh yeah, I saw all three of their matches.
Okay. How do you feel that when the double dog collar match went? Would you say that was their best showing, or do you have what do you feel is their best showing?
Well, I don't really know because I thought I enjoyed the Briscoes as wrestlers, but they're like more than anything they did in the ring. I enjoyed the idea of them. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to just see those guys.
Yeah,
I wanted to see them in different places, doing different things, interacting with different people, and having those kind of matches. Like they could do anything you wanted in the ring. Sure. Like there's nothing that like, what couldn't the Briscoes do? Like you need a hot promo. Okay. Just tell them how long, you need 1 minute, you need 5 minutes, you need 10 minutes. They can give you any one of those. You need a match. How long? 1 minute, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, a double dog collar. What do you need from these guys? They can do anything, but that wasn't even the point. That's just a happy bonus. Like the presence of the guys, like you always believed in them, whatever they did, you wanted to be behind them. Jay was like, he seemed like a legit tough guy. Mm-hmm. Now, even if he couldn't fight a lick, you wouldn't know that based on watching them on TV because he's so believable in his conviction when he's speaking to you. He's almost like speaking through, like you're afraid he's going to reach out and grab you in your living room if you don't respect what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And Mark was like a slightly crazy comic relief, but he that didn't mean that he wasn't, like also something to be taken seriously. He just had a different entertaining side. And they could both veer from, like, Mark could be serious and Jay could goof around with Mark and play off of Mark too, and have a sense of humor. They could both have a sense of humor, or they could both get serious. And that was like the most important thing, I think, in terms of when you're looking at pro wrestlers and what can they bring to your company. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at just the whole overall, like, I got to watch these guys no matter what they do. If they went on Home Shopping Network and started trying to sell jewelry, I'd watch that. Yeah. If they sat and read a phone book, I'd watch that. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's them that's doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. So like I said, the match is good. Fine. Whatever. I don't care about FTR one bit. Not really. But I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't have like I couldn't say like I had a favorite Briscoe brothers match because whenever they're on the screen, like I'm just like that little
Yeah.
like the little kid like just captivated. Like I
Yeah.
don't even know what's going on. I just know that I want to watch it. So
That happened to me this week when people were posting their favorite promos that Jay did, and I would just sit and I would just be mesmerized. One of my favorites that I saw somebody posted was when he was going to fight EC3, talking about how you don't even look me in the damn eye. No, I ain't going to shake your hand, but I'm going to whip your ass when I finally do. Like, I mean, like it was incredible. And I loved when they were over in New Japan, when they would be a part of Chaos and they would wrestle over there. Like for some reason, it hit different. I mean, it didn't feel like it changed. Their style didn't change much compared to Ring of Honor or anything like that. But it just felt different in a New Japan ring, and I don't know why. I liked it more. And I mean, this is going
New
back
Japan always just makes everything look more professional and cool.
Yeah, I think
the way their angles, like even if again to bring up Jim Cornette, even him talking about he had to watch he watched Wrestle Kingdom's Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay match, and it was like he was so impressed with the New Japan production values that he ended up praising Kenny Omega on certain aspects. So so it's definitely something that they do in their visual presentation of things. It just makes you feel like they're taking it seriously and it's a sport,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where I did. Now, I guess the one thing we do want to talk about that came out recently was that basically Warner Media or TNT did not allow the tribute show, that they had to film it separate, and they're going to be putting it out for free on Ring of Honor, on Honor Club, and on their Ring of Honor YouTube channel. Sure. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, I understand TNT, they're paying for the time and they want what they get paid for schedule wise, but why would they? What do you think is the real reason behind why they wouldn't want a tribute show for Jay to fill a Dynamite or even a Rampage time slot?
Well, they're going to say, we're going to hear that it's because of some executive that had a problem with Jay Briscoe and his tweets that he made however many years ago that was now. I don't remember when. Maybe somebody in the chat knows the year that he supposedly made this tweet, that he had since not only, apologized for, but learned from, and has done community outreach and done anything that anybody would be expected to do over a goddamn tweet. But still, that wasn't good enough for this person. That's the story we've always heard, that's why the Briscoes couldn't be on AEW television or TNT television. They'll let Nick Gage, who was convicted of felony, they'll let him, roll his pizza cutter across Chris Jericho's head during a Pizza Hut picture-in-picture ad, or they'll let Mike Tyson, convicted
rapist.
Yeah, which whether you think he's innocent or not, I mean, the law said he was convicted, so
yeah,
they still did that, and that's fine. But because Mike Tyson's over, so you can do whatever you want when you're over. But I don't think the Gage is over, so that doesn't explain that. But I guess 2013. Thank you, B Lane.
I know B Lane. That's my friend Brittany. She's pretty awesome. She's got to be a wrestling fan. So hey, Brittany, what's up?
Well, you don't have to dox her on the show. Let her be B Lane.
That's my best.
Let her be B Lane. Damn it.
She's my best friend. So yeah.
Well, all right, fine. So you can now you know who to stalk if you're looking for B Lane. just look for John's best friend. But anyways, you can't trust people like that around Canada Spaceman, John. Come on, let's
true.
Let's keep the anonymity.
That's not Brittany. That's not Brittany. My bad.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the story we're gonna get. It seems a little suspicious to me, and I also would like to have seen what would have happened if they just went ahead and did it anyway. Like, oops, did a tribute show. Like, what are you gonna say? Like, I told you not to. I'm mad at that guy's tweet still. Like, what was gonna happen? They're gonna yank Dynamite off the air? Of course not. Get real. I don't even know. I don't know what the real reasons are. I can only go by what is reported, but Tony is going to make up for it. and do something maybe even a little bit better, because they did a tribute show for Brody when he passed away, right? It was a Dynamite episode. They did for Brody Lee.
Gotcha.
I don't remember anything about that show.
I don't either.
I barely remember that it happened. Like, I had to be reminded, oh yeah, that's right. He did, like, they did have a tribute show for him. I didn't remember it. So that's unfortunate. It was just another Dynamite. But like, maybe with this being on YouTube as its own thing, will, maybe it'll, I don't know, be preserved better.
Right.
Let more people will be able to see it.
And they'll be able to do more in the way that Briscoes would have, that Jay would have wanted it done.
Right.
And
you're gonna have with the Honor Club, you're gonna have an ability to have the entire archive of matches available, so you can go back and look at every Briscoe Brothers match that ever that ever happened. And I don't know. Personally, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna sign up for Honor Club just for that.
Yeah.
Just for the Briscoes, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And then I'll tweet a picture of my digital receipt, so y'all know that when the vet says something, he means it. But
I'll watch it on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I still will watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I'll have the entire catalog at my disposal, and I'm going to want that too, because goddamn, Jay was just such a great talent. Mark is too. And I said, on Wednesday, that whatever he decides to do is the right decision. If he wants to continue, then he's going to have all the love and support from everybody. If he decides to hang it up, then that's what's right for him. He can always change his mind.
Yeah.
But at this time, we can't even be thinking about stuff like that. That's just too unimportant at this current moment.
Just take the time to do what you need to do. And then, that's the thing. That was I think the thing that I was really impressed with the Briscoes too. When I watched them, when they would do singles things, is like, you could tell they didn't need the other. Like, sometimes you have a tag team and they try to wrestle singles. It's like, no, okay, we see why y'all wrestle tag. There's a reason. They were solid wrestlers by themselves, without anything or anybody being in that ring with them, without having to tag out or whatever. They were really good. That's the thing. It's like, and I don't know if that's the case. Like, sometimes people get put in tag teams because it hides some flaws. Vet, I don't know if that's sometimes why they're built.
It can happen. It can happen.
But it seemed like to me these guys were genuine brothers. They wanted to wrestle together, but they could take care of their shit in the ring on their own. And they didn't need each other, but it's that they chose to do it, and that they were incredible as a tag team together. But boy, when they did single stuff, it was just as good, just as solid. I enjoyed every minute of it, as if they were wrestling in a tag team. So, I found that very interesting from them as well. So, Media M5 says here, Jay started out Jersey All Pro by himself. Later, his bro came through, and both were around the promotion at the same time. So, interesting.
Well, these guys started, damn near as minors.
Did they?
Because Jay was only 38.
Oh, wow.
And Ring of Honor has existed since 2002, and they were there at the start of it.
Wow.
So 20 years in the business of Ring of Honor, you'd have to think you didn't just walk right in and have your first day at Ring of Honor. You already been wrestling, so you would have had to been 16, 17 or something, like, training for this.
Wow. That's Media M5 saying 14 to 16 years old. So with Jersey All Pro. Wow. That would have been like Jacob having been wrestled for 3 years now already. Which is just unfathomable to me.
What is he, a Joshi wrestler? Come on, who starts that young?
I know, right? I don't know. Because I talked to Lou, who runs DFW All Pro Wrestling down here, and I was like, if Jacob wanted to do wrestling, he goes, "Oh, I don't take anybody if they're not 18 or over." He goes, so he'd have to be 18.
I agree with that.
I was like,
I agree with that philosophy, because I think not only should you just focus on just get high school out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Get that all done, but also make sure that your body is physically matured enough to the point where you can start getting it ready. But, if you're still got some growing to do in your late teens or whatever, you don't need to be like throwing yourself into the, onto wooden planks and stuff on purpose while that's happening. So.
Yeah. And so, but if he were going to do that, that would be the person I would want him to go train with here in the area. But he'll be 18 and he'll either have a job or doing trade school or whatever. So that's on him to figure that out and not be living at my house anymore. So if that's what he wants to do, cool, do it. You figure it out. But I think we've spent 40 minutes talking, Jay. I think that's kind of how I wanted to do it. I wanted to open the show talking about that, and like I said,
he deserves a whole show or a whole series of shows.
He really does. And I mean, I think I haven't had a chance to listen to the other shows this week talk because this week's been crazy, but I really feel like this is just hearing some of my friends, just some of the guys who worked here, and they may have just wrestled with him just a couple of times or taken him to the airport and back or something, and the stories and the things he would pour into people who were starting out or just whatever, giving them advice, kind words, guys talking about how he watched their matches and gave him feedback. He just, I was just like, wow, this is an amazing dude. Like, he really sounded incredible. And this diminishes the wrestling community a good bit. And I just, I felt he was deserving of our time to talk about that. And then what really struck me was like, okay, we do have to talk about this is because last night in the beginning, Michael Cole saying something, I think that says a lot about a man where he's never wrestled at WWE. He even had a promo about it. Hell, they tell you had us come on and we ain't, we're Ring of Honor till we die. And, he just was just, you can't think the Briscoe brothers without Ring of Honor, and you can't think of that. And just,
you can't think of Ring of Honor without them either.
Yeah. And
they've always been there. And that the only good thing about that, it's sad that they weren't able to be on a bigger stage, but it's also, we never got a chance to see them suck.
Yeah.
We never got a chance to see them do anything that would have, that would have tarnished their image if they went to the WWE or some such thing.
Yeah.
So there is at least that little bit. But I don't know, man. I did want to say this though, because we touched on the idea of, them not allowed to do a tribute show or whatever for the reasons that, we talked about. Well, if you guys know who Effie is, right? Yeah. Like, you all know who Effie is. His tweet, I want to read his tweet out, okay? Because I think it's relevant. He said, Jay Briscoe showed me respect and love when everyone told me he wouldn't. If you knew Jay, you knew he would uplift everyone in that locker room, regardless of whatever world they came to wrestling from. The best. Rest easy, brother.
That does a lot right there. Again, it's just, to quote my Academy co-host, Dimitri Azardos, fuck Warner, fuck Warner Discovery. So Triple D, I'm going to get you steal your catchphrase on that one. But I guess.
Well, nobody at Warner Brothers has known what they were doing for 50 years at this point. So it's nothing different there, just par for the course.
Yeah. And I think that's all. We're not going to talk about anything else wrestling except we have to talk about Smackdown because I don't think there was anything really warranted. There's talk of. I did read an article, and this was in Wall Street Journal or something like that, Forbes maybe, about how Vince McMahon has basically canceled where he doesn't have to get approval to do things. Essentially now.
I didn't know that was ever there.
Yeah. So he made that change this week apparently. Things are going well over there in the East, which we're going to talk about now. So,
all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about last night's SmackDown 2023, which is still weird to say. 2023 is still weird to say. It takes me a minute to make sure I'm saying that right.
We're all the way in the future now.
Yeah, because the reason why is because do you remember that movie is like Zardoz is like Sean Connery and he's in this like like red string bikini thingy, like with suspenders or whatever, and that was set in 2023. And somebody posted on Facebook, "This is how we should all be dressing now, according to this movie." And it was a terrible movie, but yeah,
Sure
but that's been seared in my brain. So it's like that's not real because I remember as a kid, oh, in 2023 we're gonna have flying cars and we're gonna have this, and you know.
we were made lots of crazy promises.
Yeah, I mean, hello, we were supposed to have hoverboards going into Back to the Future. I mean, what the hell?
Well, Kushida has a hoverboard lock, but
yeah, right. That doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all.
The closest anybody got to the reality of the future is RoboCop.
Yeah, right.
Like we still don't have robot cops, but essentially,
Detroit being yeah. So yes, that was last night. The show Smackdown emanated from I don't care where. We don't care anymore. I do know they're coming back to Fort Worth at some point. Yeah, because I think they advertised that last night. But we do have it starts with the Bloodline arriving, and Sammy went to fist bump Roman, and Roman just goes, "Yep, nope, we're not going to do that at all." And after showing a recap package, because what's a SmackDown without a recap package? I mean,
it's just like several minutes shorter.
Yeah, so and then after that we got Michael Cole acknowledging the passing of Jay Briscoe and offered condolences to his family as the Viking Raiders come out, because the match we started kind of hot with the match of Sheamus and Drew versus the Viking Raiders, aka I can't do it, with Valhalla coming out, and so they had their armbands on, and it said "Dim Boys" to acknowledge Jay and everything like that. And so now I missed this at some point, and who in the fuck thought it was a good idea to call Sheamus and Drew the Banger Brothers? And they said it with a straight face, and I'm going, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? Like, because we bang all night long or something like that, I think is what it's bangers night after night, I think is what it said.
Well, Sheamus has been doing that thing for a while now, like where when him and the Brawling Brutes first got together, where he started saying banger after banger after banger, saying like we're having good match after good match after good match, which is like, what do you mean a good? Who cares? Why do you care if your match is good? You should be beating people. You should be squashing people. That's a good match to you,
right?
A competitive good match is not good for you. That means that you're 50-50 with somebody, right? So
yeah.
There was some other tweet that he did too, where he was doing like a poll on what they should, the vehicles they should drive, and one of them was a bus. So like that was kind of funny.
Oh my god,
the bang bus. But
oh my god.
But I mean, this is pretty. I don't know. It's not Media M5's favorite word, bangers. He doesn't like that. He's tired of people using it to describe songs and wrestling matches, and I can understand that.
Yeah.
But Banger Brothers, they're just looking at things they can trademark at this point. I don't know why. I don't know how much money they can really make off this.
I don't either. And I mean, it's just, wow, like really? But I mean, hell, we got probably 4 of the most physical guys in the WWE tag team division going at it. And I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed Sarah Logan's new look, as Valhalla. I think it's better than some of the other stuff she's done. At least it's focused. You know what she is and what she's supposed to be. Now,
is it better than Max the Impaler?
I mean, other than it's the exact same thing. Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I think we talked about that a while back. That it's almost literally the exact same thing. But hey, good artists create, and what is it? Hameen says, better artists, steal or whatever. However that works. But I mean, obviously this was the highlight of the night if you're going to go matches, and because they're doing a tournament to determine the number 1 seed, because apparently that went so well with the Intercontinental title. It's like, well, fuck it, let's do it with the tag teams now. We have all these tag teams, let's do it together. And so,
Who knew there were so many tag teams? They kind of snuck up on us.
yeah, right. I mean, and it's very interesting to watch the brackets because you had 2 matches tonight that you're like, okay, that's some decent matches, and the other ones you're like, all right, we know who's taking the pin here. Like, what the hell, And it was just, it's very interesting. I already had the brackets figured out in a sense because I could tell 2 matches. This one I wasn't super sure, but because I'm like, well, you have the Viking Raiders, which is why they did this. I don't understand. You want to start the match hot, you want to start the show hot, but why are you having the Viking Raiders and the Banger Bros together in the first round of this match? And then like later on with Imperium, and then like, why are you having that match in the first round? That makes no sense to me. Like bring it down a little bit, make it for next week. You have, 2 really solid matches, but we did that tonight. I mean, this was to me, this was a match of the night, which is sad. Your opening match, and basically it felt like that all 4 of those guys went, all right, fucking follow that, have fun, and I enjoyed it. But this is the style of match I enjoy. The big beefy boys just beating the snot out of each other and going after it. But this is my style of match. This is what I enjoy. But that, from my uncultured eye, my untrained eye, am I right in this? Was this match of the night? Was this a solid match, or am I just biased for some of these guys?
Well, we didn't have a lot to choose from. I mean, was any match on this show not a tournament match, or the one match that LA Knight had with the guy?
Right, you had LA Knight, which is next.
And was that even a match? We don't count that. So
this is squash.
So match. I think if you're only looking at having tournament matches on this show, and our main event is a contract signing and whatever, then sure, it could be a match of the night, I guess. None of the other matches were really, I don't know, not really approaching competitive in the same way.
The only one I would say would be Imperium and Brawling Brutes were the only was that
yeah, the other Brawling Brutes.
Right. Yeah, like we have 2 sets of Brawling Brutes. So, right. that would be the only one I would be considered, competitive, that we were worth comparing. But I mean, to me,
they could have done something like what if, to your point about keeping the Banger Bus brothers off the Bang Bus Bros off of the Viking Raiders for the first round. What if you had the Bang Bus versus the Brawling Brutes? Like, oh, sorry, random lottery.
Yeah.
Now you got to deal with it. Like, what about that? I mean, they're going under anyway, so that way you give them, and then you could give, maximum male models to the Viking Raiders and let them go over, or whatever, like whichever permutation. I don't remember what all the teams were, but
we'll talk about them in a minute.
Just something to do what you were saying, to build the anticipation for a match,
right? Because it was almost like, I mean, granted, I think I saw that last week that they announced the brackets and the Viking Raiders jumped. I think Sheamus and McIntyre last week to build up to this match, but I'm like,
somebody getting jumped in wrestling? I've never seen this.
Shocker.
And no punishment, and no suspensions, or no fines, or no.
That happened in the main event last week of Sami Zayn versus, as well. So last week apparently was the mugging week, where you just jump people for no reason and don't get in trouble for it. Because Sonya did that as well. You had, the Usos jump in. Sonya did that, and the Viking Raiders. So last week was mugging week, apparently. Bring your mugger.
Every week is mugging week.
You
name a wrestling show where people don't get attacked and mugged in the backstage or somewhere. Like, it's so now the swerve would be to like walk up to somebody and just shake their hand and give them a hug.
Yeah,
like,
right. Hey man, what's going on?
I respect you.
I respect you. Good job, brother.
People would be like,
yeah, what? So that was our first match of the night. I mean, to me, it went downhill from here. There just wasn't much. You had I think the the next was the Firefly Funhouse deal where LA Knight comes out and he wrestles some guy.
Some guy.
Some guy Jones. I think his last name was Jones.
Some guy Jones. That's a good gimmick.
That would be some guy Jones. Glenn Jones is his name. That's what it was. Wow. Yeah. So literally, you'd be better off just to go some guy Jones. I think that would be a good gimmick. But yeah, he wrestled that guy. He beat him. But then LA Knight.
Before the match was even over, they were already doing the lights go out, flicker, Moth shows up on the screen somehow.
Yeah,
and the match was only like 30 seconds. So
yeah. It's like they were trying to distract him so he could lose, but he doesn't. He wins and beats the guy, and then they have the Firefly Funhouse return, which I did see that Uncle Howdy, he was in the ring with Bray. Bray, gets taken out by Uncle Howdy. Now Bray's back as the Firefly Funhouse. They show him rebuilding it. All the puppets come back to life. At this point, again, I'm at the point where I'm already over this. Like, I'm so confused as what am I supposed to do with Bray Wyatt? Like, I have no clue what I'm supposed to do with this. Like,
I said that back when he was a Waylon Mercy inspired swamp hillbilly. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? There's a guy in a rocking chair. I don't care. I don't care. Why are you a wrestler? You're a hillbilly from the swamp who either is or thinks he is literal Satan. If you listen to the promos, that's what he was saying. So why Satan wanted to become a pro wrestler, I have no idea. It does seem to be a very sinful business.
Yeah.
But other than that, it seems a little silly. Yeah. So I've never cared. And I really don't care about this, especially this Firefly. I hated the Firefly Funhouse, always have. And seeing it come back is not, doing me any favors. You know what I thought of when I was watching this? Because I'm just sitting there like, ugh.
Yeah.
What this is kind of the equivalent for me is, you seen the movie Hannibal?
Yes.
Okay. So, there's that scene. Sorry if anybody hasn't seen it. There's a scene toward the end of the movie where, he has this guy, sedated at his dinner table, and he has removed the top portion of his skull. Okay? And his brain is exposed. So he's kind of almost, and he's drugged and he's been lobotomized or whatever. And Hannibal Lecter is Clarice is there, and he's feeding this guy a piece of his own brain or whatever. It was pretty gross.
Right.
So, but I kind of, watching this, I would have felt like that guy, but if I had just taken a jug of bleach and just poured it right into my exposed brain. That's what watching this is essentially like for me.
You mean you didn't like the plumber's crack? With the symbol of the Firefly, the upside down moth covering the butt crack there when they opened the show, the Firefly House. That was
I take it back. Let me remove the bleach. Let me put the top of my skull back on. It actually was brilliant. This was my favorite segment of the show. It was way better than that tag team match. When you put it like that, I mean, who can argue?
Right. It's a plumber's crack. I mean,
yeah. So
11
out of 10 stars, and would watch again.
There you go. I like your Chef's Reacts moment there. That's good. I appreciate that call out. But I don't. Again, this is we're trying to force something back when you haven't. I mean, I know there was the one moment where they showed the way back where they showed the fun house and it being dead and dusted and all that, and then all of a sudden you just veer off and decide we're going to do this again and we're going to build the fun house and.
But did you see the genius details of how Mercy the Buzzard was shaking off the dust and coughing up dust?
Oh, yeah.
Look at look at how deep they get into this, man. That's so genius. That they're on another level. We can't comprehend it. Just our regular pundits, we're not working on the same genius level that Bray Wyatt is. He's a genius, Apparently. I've heard many people say that he's a genius in this wrestling business and he should be the next Undertaker. So, who are we to sit here and question it when they've gone to the lengths to show Mercy the Buzzard, coughing up dust and dirt.
Right. And it was this. I guess for me, you want to be different, but like this is a different that doesn't work. Sometimes you don't have to be so like when you go like to me, this is so different that it's like, but why? But why? Like this makes no sense. Like if you're gonna talk about different that works, the Briscoes, right? They're different in the way they look, how they do their things, but it's not outside the realm of wrestling. They're different. It works. That would be, I think, a better example of how we can find the different that works, so that it is that aspect of it. This, I think, is just so. This is just somebody who wants to do their thing, and they're like, if we don't do this, he's going to be a petulant child. So let's just let him do his thing, because it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't. Now I do appreciate the fact that I did like this from the Funhouse last night. How he made fun that LA Knight's name was Los Angeles Knight, and that he was in the hole already. What parent named their child Los Angeles Knight? I did like that line. It made me laugh because I'm like, that's a stupid name. Why he's called LA Knight? It's a very dumb name. We've talked about that.
Yeah, well, Bray Wyatt's a literal genius. So.
No, I'm not saying that at
Okay.
all.
All
I'm
right.
just saying I like that line out of the entirety of that thing that they did last night. Oh, and the butt crack. We can't forget the butt crack.
Oh, yes.
That was covered up with the upside down mom. So, but in all, that line was funny because it's a dumb name.
I'll say this is what I will say, because I already said that we were going to talk about this shit and it was going to be negative.
Yeah.
So if I can take one positive thing out of this for myself,
okay.
I'm really glad that LA Knight, Eli Drake, whatever you want to call him, Max Dupree, I really like that he is getting a high profile match on the Rumble. I know it's probably going to be weird and or stupid, but there's only so much time on the Rumble because you got to have two things that go over an hour on the show.
Right.
So like the other matches on there, you're basically going to get the Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns match, right, and probably this Pitch Black match, whatever this is. There's not a lot with all the packages and filler and stuff that they do on those shows to pad out, to make it like 3, almost 4 hours,
Yeah.
You're not going to have time for much more matches. So the fact that LA Knight gets to get a big Royal Rumble payday in a singles match, and even if it's a gimmick match, I'm glad for him. Because he seems like his career up to now was going nowhere in the WWE.
Right.
And so, like, even though this sucks, the creative sucks, and the match should probably suck, I'm just glad that he's going to get that he gets that time, and he gets that payday. And I hope they can prove me wrong and, like, turn something out of this. We don't know what the match is going to be. I assume it's just going to be a match in the dark, and then like the fans are going to hold up their phones so there'll be just enough light that they can see what they're doing. I assume that, but it could be cinematic, or it could be some other thing that I haven't thought of because I don't spend time thinking about it. But whatever it is, I'm just saying once again to wrap my thought up. I'm glad that LA Knight gets a high profile match because it definitely seems like something that wouldn't have happened last year.
Yeah. I thought somewhere I'd read it was going to be a pre-Rumble, like a pre-show match, but it looks like now they've, I guess, moved it up. Because right now, what they have listed is they have Kevin Owens and Reigns. They have Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss, the 2 Rumble matches, and the Pitch Black match. And they've now have that listed under the card, not saying it's a pre-Rumble. I thought somewhere, like they were saying like a special pre-Rumble. Maybe I just got it confused. But well,
like that's disappointing if that ends up being the case. You can move that Alexa Bliss shit down to the pre-show if you have to.
Sure, but
actually now they don't really like. Every time I watch the WWE premium live events, I don't see pre-show matches. Yeah, it's just them, them people at the desk talking. So,
and maybe they just said something about a special match where it's like the in the dark match. Maybe it's going to be pre-recorded. Maybe that's, I don't know, like they did the match before the Rumble, in the sense before anybody got there, with a lights out match or whatever. I don't know how they're planning on doing it. I'm gonna watch it and see. But like you said, I found it very interesting that this is Bray Wyatt's first opponent who hasn't wrestled. He came back in October, and he really hasn't wrestled this entire time. And this is going to be his first match. Now, has he not wrestled because he needed to get back into ring shape, Vet? Or is this more of they think
was he ever in ring shape?
I don't know. I see guys that I don't think I've seen guys who I am like, there's no way that dude's lasting 20 minutes, and he goes 35, and I'm like going, damn, like he looks worse than I do, and he went, holy shit. So I don't know even what ring shape means because I don't know, but I just found it interesting that they've waited this long to have him in a match to this point, and that LA. I've always.
It's weird. It's like, well, I kept saying that. I'd be like, what are you doing here? Yeah. We hired you to do what? To walk out and talk about your problems? Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to hear that. So it's just very bizarre that has happened. I could have sworn that he was going to have like a job match or something, but I don't remember if that actually took place or if that was just some weird dream I had. But I think we can just sum it up with Society Review's comment where he says Eli Drake has completely outshined Bray Wyatt in this feud, and agree with that and move on.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so I like that. That's a good one. We agree. Move forward. So then we get Hit Row versus Los Lotharios. Boy, this was a banger of a match.
I think we can move on by saying that Eli Drake has completely outshined Bray Wyatt in this feud too.
Yeah. although it says this one right up they go. The match lasted long enough for Michael Cole to once again remind everybody that Top Dollar slipped while trying to do a dive. Oh my god! That's gotta love it.
I feel bad for Top Dollar in the moment, but everything he's done after that, I'm sure he's a nice man, but I everything he's done after that just makes me not want to feel sorry for him anymore, because his rapping promos are awful, and you only see those on social media anyways. They wouldn't give that TV time on Fox, right. So yeah, and then just the whole I don't remember when I said this. I don't know if I was on here or if I was on a different show talking about it, but I said that if that had been me, like if I had gone for a dive and just fell over, that was it. And I said I would just make them stretcher me out, like I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of like, nope, I'm calling it audible. We're ruining this match. Let's get the people out here.
Top Dollar, more like 50 Cent.
Yeah,
Bobby
Heenan,
so, but it's like, so basically from what I've read, it's now that Hit Row has won. I'm writing this out to remember. Hit Row now faces the Banger Brothers. The Bang Bros next week.
Hit Row does?
Hit Row does. So
to be honest, I didn't even remember who won this match.
Yeah, Hit Row won.
I forgot.
And it wasn't very long. That's the whole bit. It was not very long at all. It was like that. They started fighting outside the ring. Humberto and Adonis made their way back in. B-Fab grabbed Adonis's leg, and then Adonis rolled up Humberto for the 1, 2, 3 to win the match. And then they beat him down a little bit afterwards. And then you had Braun Strowman do his promo saying he's going to be in the Rumble, and anybody that tries to get in his way is going to get these hands. Yay, Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I miss the old music.
Yeah.
The one where you could like sing along with his name. You could be like Braun Strowman, Braun Strowman.
They ruined it. So then we had another recap to show that Charlotte and Sonya Deville are fighting for some reason, because that's the same level, Sonya Deville and Charlotte. But that Charlotte whipped the shit out of Sonya Deville, and then Sonya was like, "Wow, I want a rematch."
You called your shot, and you lost.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, you tapped out.
Yeah.
And hey, Detroit. Hey, that's where they were. How could you forget where they were, John? They were in Detroit. I almost forgot because Charlotte only said it 17 times.
No, that's right.
She didn't say it 20 times. If she said it 20 times, I would have remembered. Oh yeah, they were in Detroit that night in Little Caesars Arena.
That's right. Detroit.
What do you think, Detroit?
Yeah.
Should we put on a match with Sonya Deville for Detroit? Here in Detroit?
At the Little Caesars
Remember that
Arena
Simpsons
in
episode?
Detroit?
Remember the Simpsons episode where Homer is like trying to bribe Dr. Hibbert to tell him where his long lost brother Herb lives, like it's confidential information.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
he's trying to let him. He could be, there's a lot of big metropolitan cities that he could be living in, like such as Detroit. And then Homer's like, "Okay, Doc, I get it. You can't just spell it out for me." He's like, he could be anywhere, even Detroit. He's like, he gives Dr. Hibbert money. He's like, fine, will you tell me now? And he's like, Detroit. He lives in Detroit. All right, just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah. Apparently Charlotte was very much like Dr. Hibbert here. Not only in that, it's just could not get over the fact that they were in Detroit.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it over enough. And
that's right, because Sonya Deville said she couldn't be bothered to talk to these dirty people in Detroit. So, they both did their parts. I think with Sonya saying Detroit, I think they got close to 20. So I should have remembered. That's my bad.
It's all right.
My bad on that.
I understand when somebody like of Charlotte is her age and and her general demeanor or whatever and gender is talking, you generally want to tune it out. So you probably didn't hear her say Detroit 17 times, but I assure you she was trying to remind you.
Well, it's Charlotte on the mic. I never really pay attention in general. It's just, whatever. And then you throw in Sonya Deville, and I think I told you this is the point where I probably fell asleep as part of the show, where I just went on the couch for a little bit.
But then you just woke up and finished it, right?
Oh no, I did. I think I woke up in the middle of there was a part with Paul Heyman and Roman. I don't remember when that was. So that's when I woke up. But I missed all this. So I'm reading this one verbatim from the review show. Like I have the notes for the review to remember what order things went, but this I don't remember at all. And so it's like, hey, I'm in Detroit. We're in Detroit. Cool. I just remember Charlotte wearing the robe, which had was it spikes coming out of the shoulder? I don't know. It was a weird fucking robe that I was just like weird. And Sonya Deville said something and was bitching about. Oh, she said something about coming out.
It's not important what happened, other than Detroit.
Yeah, and
but Sonya punched Charlotte and then ran.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
pretty corny. Corny in general. Like this whole thing's stupid. I don't.
Oh, I'll wrestle tonight if you put your title on the line. And it's not going to happen. It didn't happen.
No.
So
and we should throughout the night they've had Sami Zayn. Like were we planning to talk about all that at once, like leading up to the main event, or we want to?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's recap all of it together in one moment.
Okay,
I think it's better if we do it.
It's the only good thing on the show, so
yeah,
I wouldn't want to.
To me, it deserves its own focus that we're going to talk about because it was good. We don't need to mix it in with all this rabble around it. So because there was a segment there, then there's a vignette with Lacey Evans demonstrating the Cobra Clutch. Because I think I said this a while back, they should have Sergeant Slaughter be her manager. And
what does she need him for? She already knows the Cobra Clutch.
Yeah, she really was a Marine. He wasn't.
In fairness, I don't know if Sergeant Slaughter ever truly claimed he was a Marine in real life. I think it was always a gimmick.
Gotcha.
I think. And G.I. Joe ran with it and made toys and whatever. So I know people have said like Stolen Valor. I don't know if he really claimed he was a shoot Marine.
Well, he wears the hat and everything. I mean,
you can wear any hat.
Yeah, but Stolen Valor, you're implying. I mean,
his hat had like a glittery gold band around it.
Yeah, he had.
Well, I mean, those were in later years, I guess.
Yeah, but he had a drill instructor hat on. I mean, I don't know.
But the shoot, military did like Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't begrudge him.
No.
Calling himself Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
We also know his name isn't Slaughter.
Right.
So there was a giveaway there that
Right.
maybe. But yeah, so it was funny because it's like I'm looking at this little vignette with Lacey, and then I'm like, you know, she did Ronda Rousey say, "Hey, you know who's cool? Sonya Blade from Mortal Kombat. I was Sonya Blade literally in Mortal Kombat, but I'm not doing that anymore. So why don't you do it?" Doesn't that kind of look what this looks? She's wearing this green,
Yeah.
and she's got her
Yeah.
little ponytail
The
and
white shirt and
yeah, all this CQC and shit. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get
Now, if
that.
you give Masse from Maximum Male Models, if you give him some cybernetic arms, I think we got a new
Jax.
team.
You got
Yeah,
Jax. Let's go.
that's right.
Make everybody Mortal Kombat. That'd be good with that.
Yes.
So after this segment, we have the Brawling Brutes versus Imperium, which because heaven forbid the Brawling Brutes, who are on the same team as Sheamus and McIntyre, there's your new tag. There's all your tag teams versus Imperium, who comes out with Walter, and then, or at least he walks out with him, and I think he didn't stay out, right? He just walked out and then left because I don't remember seeing him for the rest of the match.
Yeah, I can't be sure, but I think you're right.
Yeah. So, but this match was the second best match of the night. Which isn't hard to do, but I mean, it was the more competitive match. This one, again, you could see either one moving forward, but I think it was the right call to have Imperium go over on this one, and so and then I don't know. It was just, again, this was a hard hitting European style match that I enjoyed. I felt like these two teams are pretty solid. I'm impressed with Rich Holland, how he's grown from the beginning with the injuries and things along those lines. He feels like right now that he's a pretty solid guy in the ring. And then, Pete Dunne, he's always been solid. He's always been there. And then Ludwig and Kaiser and Ludwig, or I think I'm saying that wrong.
It's Ludwig Kaiser
and Vinci, whatever his name is.
Giovanni Vinci.
Giovanni Vinci, yeah. But, they've always been solid since they've been in NXT and WWE. Sure. Again, so this was a really good match. I feel like this was, your second best match of the night. Competitive, enjoyable. This one woke me up a little bit to be like, all right, cool. I'm back. I'm involved. I'm ready to go. Because I think I got up to go do something, so I missed the Lacey Evans one because I don't remember that at all. Okay. And then, so then we had a lot of segments that were backstage after this match. A lot. It was like, we had Paul Heyman, and so we will talk about this. At one point, Paul Heyman told Sami Zayn Tribal Chief wants to see him. Shayna Baszler, she's going to eliminate everybody in the Rumble and tear them apart limb from limb. A video package for Raw XXX aired.
This took minutes. So I'm showing a bunch of highlights of all the things that have, although, and they prominently featured the "Welcome to Raw is Jericho" thing. So there's that, and a lot of Vince in there.
Yeah. And,
I do like one of the things I don't like that WWE has done, and this is, I can firmly blame the McMahon regime because that's how it's been for most of the company's existence, except for a few months. But they always would like to rewrite history or scrub things out or make, try to bury certain things like, oh, that never happened. Like, we're not talking about that, So it is. I always prefer whenever they just are like, yeah, we get it. Chris Jericho's at AEW, but here's a big Raw moment. Like I like that they don't try to hide. If it happened, it happened. Just deal with it, acknowledge it. It's part of history.
Yeah, he made you money, so why not? And he's going to continue to make you money when you show that moment, and everybody's like, oh yeah. I mean, so acknowledge it for what it is. And then we had another backstage segment with Karrion Kross. and how he's going to be stepping in the ring with Rey Mysterio, and he'll take out Mysterio and other 9 competitors in the Royal Rumble. So he's now involved. So this was just a massive, just hey, let's dump everything in this like 10-minute segment of all this backstage stuff, and commercials, and all this to get the what will be our final match of the night, which is Legado del Fantasma versus the Maximum Male Models. Which it was Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wild and Santos Escobar and Zelina Vega. Well, Zelina was at ringside.
She was on commentary.
She was on commentary. And then the Maximum Male Models of Mason Mansoor with Maxine Dupree. And we all knew what was going to happen. But
Zelina, I thought the male models were going to pull it out.
Yeah, did you really? Wow.
See what I did there? It was like a double entendre.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I did it.
Pull it out.
I did notice Mansoor's getting more for that. What was the guy who was on WWE back when Chuck and Billy, he was the stylist or whatever?
Rico.
He had a very Rico look to him last night with the shirt, and then I think he had his facial hair cut, kind of like Rico did, and with the big old thick chopped sideburns or something along those lines. The match didn't last long enough for me to see it. Again, I knew who was going to win. So, hey, but we got Zelina Vega is going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Oh, man. That was like, I was right on the fence of whether I was going to, watch the Royal Rumble this year, but
yeah.
Now I'm definitely not.
Yeah.
Mansoor is pretty good. I wish that he had something better to do.
What are you going to do? At some point, you're on TV at least. But
even plain boring Mansoor was still pretty good compared to other people that they give that spot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when he was on the screen, with Ali all those times, and like he was just, supposedly Ali's like this, like a darling or whatever. But anytime he's standing next to Mansoor in any measurable or even intangible way, he's being outshined by this guy that has not been wrestling that long. You know what I mean? Like he was taller, he's handsomer, he's more charismatic, he's a better wrestler than Ali anyway. Like his ring psychology or whatever, such as it is better. Like I wouldn't know why anybody wouldn't want to get something out of Mansoor other than what they've been getting, which is either a kind of a boring, do-nothing vanilla character or this outrageously cartoonish character. Like there has to be a middle ground between the most boring and the most flamboyant that you could get. Because there's no future for Maximum Male Models. They're just there. Sure. And like the Mace guy, it's like, well, do we forget this guy used to be part of the Raw commentary team? Has it been long enough that we've forgotten that? And that his exit from that was Brock Lesnar randomly putting him through a table because he stood up to protect Michael Cole or whoever it was back then. And then he looks like the kind of guy, he's got the size and the look that you feel like, you'd want to do something with. And he obviously had enough charisma they wanted to put him on commentary.
Right.
So what is this rib? Like, I don't get why you've got these guys doing this rib thing. I know why it started, but we have a new creative team now. We don't have to do this shit anymore.
Right.
Let's get these boys something to do.
Do you think maybe they're going to use this as where they can, they needed to get this tournament out the way. So they've done this. They can put them offside for a little bit, maybe retool them a little bit down the road. I mean,
they're barely even on as it is. So you could have take any opportunity that you took them off TV for several weeks and to do the retooling. And so I don't know why they would need a tournament, but I mean, we'll see. Maybe they do stuff on the .com, exclusive things. Like maybe there's skits you can go if you go to the website and see funny stuff they're doing for social media. But you know if you only watch SmackDown, you only see these guys once in a blue moon, and it's usually for something like this.
Right.
I'm sure there's more for both of these guys that you could get out of them. You know.
Right. No, I agree. I agree with that. And I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where you just kind of wonder, like, okay, like they were really quick with LA Knight to pull the trigger, and get that off of him. I wonder if it's like, well, we can't have that too much change too fast. We need to kind of temper. I don't know.
I'm not rolling my eyes at you, obviously, but
yeah,
the thought of somebody thinking that.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Like you had when you took LA Knight out of the group, that was your out to destroy the whole group.
Right. That's what
you could have had the other two guys be like, yeah, I ain't doing this either. But
fuck this shit.
Although if you had that attitude, it wouldn't have made sense why you ever agreed to it in the first place. But,
right. Well, because I mean, somebody was telling
unless you thought Maxine was going to bang you if you did what she said, then you could play that card or whatever. There's your easy out. Like,
there you go.
Man, we just realized, Maxine, that you're not going to bang either one of us, so we're out of here.
Yeah. No.
That could be your promo, and then they could form a tag team of two serious guys.
Right.
And then the WWE can have them turn on each other like every tag team does. And then they can have a singles match. And they can be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Mansoor versus Mace at WrestleMania.
That's just what we want. We want that.
Night one.
We want that.
Night one main event.
Yeah. Real quick before we go into the Bloodline thing, I don't know if you saw this year. Did you watch any of the New Japan versus Noah show that just happened?
No, I haven't had a chance.
Okay. I haven't either. But apparently they did a 10-bell salute to Jay Briscoe before that show. The picture is Marufuji and Tanahashi both holding pictures of Jay in the 10-bell salute. So
awesome.
it just popped up real quick while I'm looking at the results. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's very nice. So as we talked about at the beginning, we're gonna cover everything in the Bloodline now because this is the good part of the show. So when Roman arrived, Sammy goes to give him Knuckles, and he just walks right by. And then we have later that we have a backstage segment where Sammy told they're backstage and they're talking about how the greeting was a little frosty and if wanted to know if everything was cool. And Roman's like, so I saw how you looked at me, like, what's going on? And he talked about how he was disappointed because he felt like he was going to take care of Kevin. And then he had no idea that Usos were going to show up, and he felt slighted. And Roman got pissed and was like, "Oh, I got to run all my stuff by you now." I mean, like this whole like, you're not involved. You're an honorary. I got to run up by the honorary Uso, and like held that honorary for like a bit. That was just so good. Like I got to run it by the honorary Uso, and and to get out, and also because he spoke Kevin Owens' name, and so he told go find Kevin or his own bloodline or whatever, and like Paul Heyman in the background, so hilarious. Oh my god, the facial. He's like, oh my god. Like if nothing else, just to watch Paul Heyman. I mean, it's very interesting now. Paul Heyman doesn't say much, and when he does, it's very impactful. But where he's making his money is not saying anything and just reacting in the back corner and just going, "Hey, oh, look, there he is." So,
yeah, and he's not saying anything, but he's saying everything because there's no way that this isn't all Paul Heyman.
Right.
There's absolutely no way. You can't convince me that the same writing team that's coming up with Bray Wyatt's shit and Maximum Male Models is doing this, right?
Right.
Impossible.
Yeah. He's doing all this. He's got it.
Labrat says, great segments, but can the turn finally happen? No. What do you mean finally? This turn should not happen. They should take this to another year.
Yeah.
We need another year of this.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, continue.
Yeah. So that was the one segment there. Then we go down a bit, and it kind of lingers. And then we have the segment backstage where Paul Heyman told Roman that he did not like Sammy from day one, but he supported his vision for the island of relevancy. And this was interesting, where he asked Raymond to take into consideration that it might be better that they're about to sign a contract to defend the title against Kevin Owens to have Sami Zayn in the castle, rather than pissing out than out of the castle pissing in, which was such a good line. I was just like, oh wow, okay. And just this Machiavellian idea of, hey, let's keep him here. We don't want to have Kevin have another ally. Let's keep him isolated. Let's keep him out there. And you see just kind of, that head nod that Roman does, and just kind of chill and lets it breathe. And, nothing said. Paul speaks the whole time.
Mistake, John.
Okay. What was the mistake?
Paul should not have said, I never liked Sami. Because this is cataloged evidence that Sami could go back and watch to see him say this. It should be something that's implied. And it also works better for Paul Heyman's character that he's only baby-facing everybody that he's currently talking to. If he goes and talks to Sami, he's Sami's best friend. If he goes and talks to Roman, he's Sami's best friend, or he's Roman's best friend. If he states out loud on camera, I never liked Sami Zayn, what's to stop Sami Zayn from hearing that? And now why would he just be, now he would have that to work with. So if they don't do something with that and turn that into a thing where now Paul Heyman has a tension with Sami and Roman doesn't. Like, Roman is now cool with Sami, at least for the time being. And then Paul Heyman and Sami have a tension, but since it's only the wise man and the honorary Uce, like, they're not going to take it to a certain level, but it's brimming below the surface. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. But I think the other issue you have to look back at is, like, we have those issues of, like, Jay talking to Jimmy about, Roman won't like what, and he won't find out or whatever. And that's been documented, and nothing's come from that either, where stuff has been said.
Well, those are mistakes as well.
Yeah.
But I didn't get a chance to talk about that. I'm talking about this now. Yeah. But anytime, and it's not just this, it's any wrestling. If you're on any wrestling show and you do something that somebody could be watching or watch later, because like, in the world we live in, let's just pretend everything's real for a second, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sammy's too busy to be necessarily watching Smackdown live as it's happening as he's there.
Right.
However, a fan could be like, here's a clip of this is what Paul said in social media, send it to Sami. And like, he would get a flood of Twitter messages and Instagrams of people like posting this thing where Paul said, I never liked Sami. I never liked Sami. I never liked Sami. And then he'll be like, hey, he never liked me. Yeah. Like, if this were real. So
let's make it real. Hey, everybody in the chat, start sending Sami this clip and tagging him.
It's already going to happen. Like, that's the thing about this. Like, Sammy's got to be like, oh my God, these fucking marks blowing up. Like, he already has to be dealing with that. But that's exactly why you have to be extra careful. Dude, you're this close to absolute perfection in pro wrestling and in television production, period. If you just get past the fact that there's a camera there at all. but like, just those little things to cover your bases. Like, Paul shouldn't expose himself unless that is going to play into something later between the two of them. And we'll see if it does. If it doesn't, though, that was a mistake. That's all I'd like to say. So it sounds like a nitpick, but it's the details that set everything apart, that make the great things even better.
Right. And that's, but that's the, isn't that the amazing thing though, with this? It's been so good that we're having to nitpick at this point. Like, whereas like with other stuff on the show, we're going, it sucked. We're moving on. We're not dealing with it.
I often find myself doing that because it's like, when something's a lost cause, what are you supposed to do about it? But when it's just that good or just needs that tweak, you got to call it out. Like I'm much harsher on the stuff that I really like rather than the stuff that I don't.
Right.
What's the point of doing a whole podcast on some reality show that I would hate if I don't like any of it? It's too much, you know.
Yeah.
But it's those little things and the stuff that I enjoy. You see those things, and then you're like, oh, but if only, you know. So
Right. And I mean,
movies, television shows,
yeah.
video games, whatever the medium is, you always tend to be those, like the nitpicky on the stuff that just gets just that close, right?
Yeah, the way, and then it's interesting you say that because I remember that. Like, I remember thinking, because our coaches and when we played football said this: if a coach yells at you, that means he's actually invested in you. If a coach doesn't care, doesn't yell or anything along those lines, that means he's done with you, and there's nothing to be done. And so, I think we're treating this segment as we really enjoy this, we really like this, and so it's not being we want it to be the best that it can be, and so we do see those little things where we're just like, well, they could have done this or maybe done that or swerved, but you know,
we'll
it's
see if
still
they
really
do. We'll
good.
see if they do, though. We'll see if they do. They might,
but I mean, it's still really good. It's the best thing on the show that they have going so far. I mean,
Labrat says, I just don't want them to keep repeating kicking Sammy out and bringing him back every week. Well, that's also true, and they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't make it an every week thing. They can still move the story along without, you know, constantly having to question Sammy's loyalty. It's
right.
Just,
I mean, I get it. He's the honorary Uce. He's not the real. He's not the real thing. And then he had a relationship with Kevin Owens, so I can understand at this point why they're doing that, because he has shown some hesitancy with Kevin Owens, which I think we'll talk about this a little bit later. But like, you know, there's that aspect of it. Even though we know that Sammy and Kevin have fought forever, and they, you know, Kevin has always betrayed Sammy and done the same thing that Roman's doing, used him. It's just like Kevin's more mad that Roman is using him and Kevin's not able to use him because that was Kevin's bit. You know, hey, you're my friend, but I use you all the time, and it's not fair that Roman gets to do it and I don't get to do it anymore. You know, kind of thing. Yeah. It's kind of how it feels like right now. With
even though Roman came out and said, like, "I'm done with you, Sammy."
Yeah,
like he just came and straight up said that. But that's fine. So I guess we're at the point now where
Sammy.
So Paul has talked Roman off the ledge a little bit.
Yeah,
and wants to convince him to, you know.
Yeah, so he goes to Sammy, says the tribal chief would like to see you, and Roman told Sammy that he has a temper, and that's why he has people like the wise man to counsel that anger. And he said he realizes now that Sammy wanted communication to be part of the team, and he said that, and Sammy thanks him for understanding, and he will always put what's best for the bloodline first, and whatever Reigns needs, he will do. So Roman says he wants Sammy and to find the Usos and make sure the SUVs are in place, to call the pilot to make sure the jet is fueled up. They're going to sign the contract and get out of there. And so Sammy says, "Yep," fist bump and accepted. And
call the pilot. I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs and there's no fuel in the jet. What the hell was I thinking? Of course, but
I mean, because that's how it works, you know. Having my dad, who was a pilot, and having had flown planes privately for years, they know when you're
why
leaving.
won't this damn plane start?
Oh shit, we forgot to put fuel. No, they know what time you're leaving, and the plane will already be fueled. Half the time when you land, they already are refueling the plane to be prepared for you to take off. So that was some stupid shit right there. But like,
does the pilot make that call? Does he be like, "Hey, get the fuel out here"? Yeah. You know what? I'll do it myself.
Yeah, no, they usually call somebody who does that. So. It depends on the FBO you're at, because I have seen places that don't have a regular driver fuel truck, and I've seen where my dad's pilots for the company have had to go get the fuel truck and fuel it themselves because it was a small FBO and there was no service. I
don't think the bloodline would be using a small FBO.
It depends on where you're going and what you're flying into. Because you're not.
This is Little Caesars Arena. They don't spare any expense. This is Detroit, damn it.
Well, depending on where you're going in Detroit, too, you're not flying into Detroit Metropolitan Airport because it's a massive airport. You are going to pay massive fees to land there. Like, what people don't realize is American Airlines, places like that, they don't just fly into airports. They pay for every plane landing at that airport. And so if you're a private jet, flyer, if you want to fly into DFW, let's say you're going to come visit here and you're going to come see me in a private jet. If you land at DFW, it's going to cost you double to triple just to land there, not to be fueled or anything, just to land at that airport and be put into the rotation. It's going to cost you double to triple unless you went to Fort Worth at Mecum, which is it's a private airport, or you flew out to Mineral Wells, which is out in the country about 20, 30 minutes away from here, and you flew there. It costs you a fraction of what those places would because of their locations and their FBO facilities, which they're nice. They're not terrible. But DFWs, it's not that great at an FBO to begin with because they're not catering to that business. They're catering to commercial flights. And then you're going to pay way more to land there than you are any other location. So, again, this is why rich people stay rich, is because they make smart financial decisions. So if I'm flying into Dallas, I'm going to go to Addison, which is in between Dallas and Fort Worth in the north kind of area. And you're going to pay way less fees. And it's a nice airport. Rich people live there and work there and all that kind of stuff. They're going to have nice FBO operations there. And then you're going to drive into Dallas because you're maybe 10 minutes from downtown from that location.
Well, that's Dallas. We're talking about Detroit here.
Detroit,
so.
Yeah. So
much better operation. All the private planes and everything are just loaded with hot and readies. So you don't have to worry about any of that. This is a smart financial decision for someone of any budget.
Right.
But in any case, it's Sammy's job to call them and make sure that not only is their jet, fuel in the jet, but that the pizzas are ready
and it's ready to take off.
And there's crazy bread and everything. Yeah.
So you have crazy bread in the SUVs, and then you have pizzas on the plane.
That's right. The appetizer to get you ready for the. Yes, I got it.
Right.
All right. So Sammy's off to do that.
Yes. So then we have the in-ring segment where it's Kevin Owens, Paul Heyman, and Solo Sikoa who come out to do the contract signing with Kevin Owens. And so Roman takes his usual 45-minute intro to sign a piece of paper. And then
we got enough time to watch another Raw 30 package?
Pretty much. Okay. Good luck. And so he sits down and puts his feet on the table, and then Kevin Owens looks up and jumps Solo Sikoa, and he gave Reigns a stunner, and then the Usos showed up and pulled Owens out of the ring, and they began fighting and gave both of them super kicks and used a pop-up powerbomb because Kevin still does the pop-up powerbomb even though he has the stunner. Through a table, and he's going to get he looks like he's going to beat up Paul Heyman, but he grabs the contract, signs it, and then Sammy shows up and got in the ring apron and stared at Owens, and he threw the contract at Sammy and then ran out. And it's like, and that's how the
very
show
strange.
Ended. Yeah,
very strange. It was like Sammy runs out there, and Kevin Owens has just beaten up the entire bloodline by himself, and then he runs into the audience when Sami Zayn shows up.
But Sammy doesn't, Sammy pauses again. He gets on the top of the ring apron. He pauses.
Well, it would make sense for Sammy to pause because he just beat up the entire bloodline.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And he's got the high ground. He could have caught Sammy coming in.
Right, you're right.
See, and now if they try to turn this into something where, he's like, well, why did you, why'd you, where were you, Sarah? Or why'd you hesitate? Something predictable like that. Then the obvious question is like, what do you mean, where was I? You let one guy beat up all of you by himself. Of course, Sammy wouldn't say that, but that's what everybody'd be thinking.
You told me to go get the plane ready. You told me to go make a phone call. You told me to get the SUVs ready. That doesn't take like that. I got to go get out. And then, like you said, now that I think about it, because I was thinking about the hesitation aspect of it, but your thought makes more sense because Sammy is a tactician. He's thinking, well, I'm on the ring apron. If I go in, he can start whipping my ass right now. Because how many times have
that's what happened to the Usos. When the Usos ran out, Kevin Owens kicked both of their asses.
Yep.
So then what chance does Sami Zayn have?
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, well, that makes it. To me, that's more of he's a thinking man. He's a tactician. He goes, no, if I do that, he's going to kick me. But then why did Kevin have to run?
Yeah, why did Kevin run?
That's the bigger question. I was thinking, why is he running at this point? You just beat the big dog and his entire family. You only have Paul Heyman in the corner crying and stibbling. and Sammy's on the apron, and Sammy is nowhere near the level. Unless Kevin's messing with everybody to make it look like Sammy hesitated. So it's like, I don't want to.
Here's how they should have done it.
Okay.
Well, here's how they should have done it is Kevin Owens tries to get in, and then they all beat the shit out of him, and then leave Kevin Owens laying. That's what should have happened. Right. Let's say that that's a best scenario.
Yes.
Better scenario is if you do all that same stuff that you did, where Kevin Owens beats everybody up. He jumps Roman, so that makes sense. Then the Usos come in, but he cuts them off coming in, so that makes sense. Right. Solo should have been on it, but he wasn't, so that part doesn't really make sense. But whatever, it's wrestling. Let's give him a pass on that. Then he does the thing with Paul Heyman, signs the contract, and just hops over the rail and starts to leave. As he's leaving up the ramp, Sammy runs from the entrance. So now it's too late for him to ever get to Owens, and everybody knows that. That way, it makes sense why he did not try to attack Kevin Owens. It makes sense why Kevin Owens didn't kick his ass, and it gives them the question of, the bullshit heel heat question of, where were you, Sammy? Obviously he was doing the things with the jet and the SUVs and all this, the pizzas and all the other stuff that he was doing. And he just now realized what was happening and came out too late to save anybody, too late to even get retribution on Kevin. Kevin's already up the ramp like Becky Lynch and out the concession stand or whatever. So that's what they should have done. That would have been the better version.
Right.
But instead was the third tier, which is what we ended up getting.
Right. In which, yeah. And I mean, it makes me wonder if they're going to use that to do a whole, where were you, Sammy? What are you doing? Like, why did you hesitate? Kind of thing. And which, again, I think it was somebody else said earlier, like this whole, are we going to kick Sammy out? Aren't we? Kind of thing. The yo-yo aspect of it, I understand it because it's Kevin Owens, but we need to give that a moment to breathe. So,
well, first of all, you just let Sammy in,
right?
Like not that long ago. And it's like, you didn't have to, if you were going to keep questioning him on every little thing, like I know it's wrestling, and I know they think they're doing the storytelling, and I know they may have a timetable they're trying to work with here. Like, all right, like we don't want to rush it, but we only have until such and such a time. Right. If the rumored match of WrestleMania of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos, God, I hope that's not true. But if it is, if that's your timeline that you have to get get Sammy out of the bloodline, you only have till WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Then they're trying to not rush it then and get these seeds planted beforehand. Mm-hmm. But it still feels a little bit rushed. Mm-hmm. And it's some of the aspects of it still don't make sense because you're always trying to create this tension. As a matter of fact, if you want it to have an emotional impact, if Sammy's ends up getting kicked out for whatever reason, or however he ends up excommunicated from them, whether he chooses to leave, whatever the case, which you could also play up a story of like, if Sammy doesn't want to be part of the bloodline for some reason, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not saying I think it's a good idea, but if he didn't want to be, now it's like, oh, you can't just leave, then you have that game to play. Like you think you're out, you're never out, So the big boy Capri speech from Dick Tracy, you are not out. When you are dead, then you are out. Mm-hmm. Like that kind of thing. So you could play that game too, but in any case, I would just think that the emotional impact of an eventual split is going to come from them not telegraphing it 1,000 miles away.
Right.
Like it should be like everything's going fine and then something comes up, But if they keep building this tension, then everybody's just expecting it. It's like, well, when's it going to happen? Mm-hmm. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And we're invested because we keep watching because we want to see it. But you could also be watching it because you just want to see it, like not the turn, but you just want to see the bloodline as an act, as a group. Same way you wanted Steve Austin to come out and drink beer or whatever, and same way you wanted The Rock to list animal body parts that you could suck or whatever. Like you had certain things that you wanted from your favorite wrestlers. You wanted Hulk Hogan to pose, all that stuff. And you give them that. You give Sammy getting along with the bloodline and everybody's enjoying that. Like, give them that. Don't keep teasing a turn and then give them a turn. Yeah. It's like, of course there's going to be a turn. But how are we supposed to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that to Sammy if we already expected them to do it to Sammy?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But what do I know? I'm just some guy.
You know a lot, sir. You bring much wisdom and knowledge to this random smattering of words that we try to talk about a wrestling show that is whatever.
Lab Rat says, I just watched for the Liv Morgan promos, of which there were none tonight.
Yep. 0, thank God.
She says, watch me, and then she's not on. Like,
liar. She is a liar and a hypocrite. God, then I'm not going to watch wrestling anymore for that reason. Because
you ruined it, Liv.
Yeah.
You ruined it. You ruined it, Liv.
Oh, well, that's the show for SmackDown. Is there anything else you wanted to cover today, Rivette? I don't have anything else. I was going to see if you had watched the New Japan Noah show. I haven't yet. I don't think it's coming out on New Japan World until later. I know they had it. They ran it on the 21st.
Is it a pay-per-view? Like you could buy it now and watch it now? But then
you have to buy it separately from your regular New Japan World.
I wonder. I'm going to look at the card and decide on that one because if they got some good matches, I'll throw those guys some money. But I really don't. I don't honestly know that many people at Noah.
I don't either. I know
besides Marufuji, I don't know anybody. And that one, what's the one kid? What's the other kid that they want that's kind of like the young Marufuji there?
I don't know, but here's the full card. I'll tell you the card. I got it pulled up.
No, don't tell me the full card. Just who's on top? what's the main event?
Naito versus Kenoa.
Keno?
Yeah, Keno. Yeah, Kenoh.
Keno, yeah. Which means like King of the Fist, I think. If you literally translate it.
Yeah. I mean, the picture, the robe this guy has.
Was that the bad guy from Fist of the North Star?
Maybe. Yeah, he's got blonde hair and he's got like 2 lions coming off his shoulders. It's quite the look there he's got.
Definitely the guy from Fist of the North Star. Then.
Yeah.
You can't just name yourself a famous anime villain, can you?
Apparently you can. Apparently you can name yourself whatever you want because El Desperado is facing Yo Hey, how you doing? So so that's happening in that match. So it says the show is supposed to be the 21st, but I'm at Yokohama Arena. So it says but this card, it's a theme, but the setup when Noah's Congo stable confronted Los Ingobernables de Japón backstage at one of the
I saw that. But I didn't. So it is the 21st? So it hasn't happened yet? Or
I'm assuming it happened this morning. I am not seeing any results or anything yet, but I know New Japan is not showing it on New Japan World until so many days later.
Oh, I get.
So I haven't seen any results yet, from it. So
what is the live pay-per-view for the 21st then? I'm sorry. It is the 21st. God, I can't believe it's going so fast. All right, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Forget I said anything.
Yeah.
Delete that off the VOD.
It's gone. Yeah. So from what it looks like, everybody from Los Ingobernables de Japón is going to be fighting someone from Congo, most likely. From what I could gather, I don't know anything about Noah. I'm not as big into Noah, but I know that there's a couple of people
Can you
who
sign up for Noah World for 999 yen a month and watch that too?
Sure, yeah, go with that. Look for Noah World.
I was looking at Stardom World, and I was like, man, maybe I'll throw a few bucks to these ladies too and watch their stuff. But like the show that they most recently had, the one that had Sayuri versus Julia on it, that was like, it was like the next day after, and they still didn't, on their own channel, they didn't have the VOD up. It took them like 2 days or whatever to put that shit up. I'm like,
really?
Bro, I could steal this from a site right now and watch it, but you don't even have it on your official site. What would I be paying you for then? Yeah. Like, I want to watch that shit immediately as soon as it's over, just like New Japan does, but whatever. Anyway, who cares about that? What else is there? Is there anything to talk about? Canada Spaceman says, when will John Enright and the Vet start the Slap Attack podcast? Oh my God, yeah. Who would have thought that nobody wanted to watch the fucking Slap Fight League thing on TBS?
Did that actually happen?
Yes.
Did it start this week or something?
I saw a number that said they only got 295,000 people to watch that.
Really?
I can't believe they got that many.
I didn't even know it started.
It started.
It started. Okay.
It delayed. It delayed. Yeah. After Dana White was filmed slapping his own wife, it got delayed by a week, but only a week. And then, now you can watch people slap each other, stand there and let each other slap each other to the heart's content. So I don't want to hear anybody complaining about New Japan not being realistic anymore.
Right. I mean,
at least they don't have a whole league dedicated only to that.
They do now. Well, they've had one in Russia for a couple of years because I have seen the viral videos of that, of like Russians and Polish people just slapping the shit out of each other and knocking each other out for that reason. And they started incorporating women. And so basically Dana just took that idea and Americanized it.
Sure.
And goes, yeah, why not? We'll do it. And the fact that someone and the fact that someone was like, yeah, we'll give you money and time on TV to watch it. Oh, Elizabeth says Ben watched on the Twitch watch along and it was terrible. So
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
No, I will not be watching the slap whatever that is. It's ridiculous. I mean, some people complain, well, you watch football. I was like, yeah, because that takes some skill. You have to be athletic. This is just.
Well, yeah. What? Who would compare these two things?
Well, they're saying that, concussions would happen in both. Concussions happen in football. This is going to be it's the same.
But like football has a danger of concussions. This is a guarantee of concussions.
Yeah,
it's not the same. And you're not even trying. We already have a sport like this where you're supposed to hit a person in the face. Yeah. And possibly get a concussion. It's called boxing.
Yeah.
So that's entertaining because people try not to get hit.
Right.
I don't really need to see. Why are we wasting our time talking about this? Speaking of football,
hey, you brought it up. Yes, football.
The 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys.
49ers.
Yes. It's going to be the 49ers free, right? Like Dallas has no chance, right?
I don't see like having I'm not a Cowboys fan at all.
Right.
But I have to sit here and watch and listen to everybody talk about the Cowboys. And I mean they have a solid defense. Their running game is shit now. Dak is a roller coaster of a ride. I mean, you can't discount Brock Purdy going 6 or 7-0 now, running that team. Kyle Shanahan is an incredible coach. Their defense is super solid, and they can run the ball. Holy cow! And you're playing in San Francisco. I honestly say it's an 80-20 49ers. 80%. I have an 80% feeling that 49ers are going to win. 20% chance the Cowboys will win. It's going to be like a blind squirrel finding a nut. I really don't think that the Dallas Cowgirls are going to be able to pull that off at all.
Anything could happen, but I think you're right on with your percentages. Like it would have to be a total collapse on the 49ers, who have rattled off 11 in a row, including the last playoff game, which is outrageous that they would have even had to have a playoff game with the number 2 seed, but that's how our playoffs are structured now.
Yeah.
Where only one team gets I think they're going to have to revisit this in the offseason and think of something else. Like what are we even playing for records, and you got teams like the Buccaneers coming in with 8 wins, fucking getting a playoff. Get the hell out of here.
Quit, but they won the division. They won their division with that. That's the crazy part.
Yes.
Like it's not even. That's why the Cowboys were in Tampa, was because the Cowboys, who had the way better record, didn't win their division. Tampa won their division with an 8-9, and so it's like okay. Which I understand saying you won your conference, you get this. Okay, cool. But like it's so. But the same could be said when the Cowboys did that. What, a year or two ago, when the NFC East was absolutely horrible, and I think the Cowboys had a losing record and got into the playoffs and got absolutely destroyed. So the question becomes: at what point do we stop worrying about conferences and just go the best 16 teams? Based off record. And for NFC,
you would have thought it would always have happened.
Yeah, but no. They
and you could use the conference as a tiebreaker if perhaps. Well, no, because if you had the similar record, you probably both won your conference. So, I don't know. Look, I don't have all the answers, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that upcoming game because I really don't care about the rest.
No, I think the Cowboys have a short week because they played on Monday. San Francisco played on Saturday, so San Francisco gained an extra day, and Cowboys technically lost the game. I just think that's just a huge advantage for the 49ers going into the game, and that's a factor people don't recognize. The Cowboys went from Tampa traveling on a short week, and now have to travel out to San Francisco. And I don't care who you are, I'm not hugely affected by jet lag, but traveling, sitting in a plane, doing all those things, it takes a toll on your body. And
that's why they probably do it early.
Yeah.
So they can get to the city and just start working out and everything.
But still, that's something that you're having to do. That's a day less of practice that you're doing. That's a day less of film and all those kind of things.
Do you think that for athletes that often travel across many time zones just as part of their job, do you think jet lag is less of a factor for those? Is this something that you can get used to? Like training, just like you can train anything, resistance to anything. Can you train a resistance to jet lag? Is it because most of I never really experienced problems with jet lag.
I don't either.
But if you're going in the U.S., it's really not that big of a deal. It's probably a much bigger deal if you're going around the world halfway,
right?
Or going back or whatever. Like that's where it's like really a factor. But do you think just for the athletes that travel within the country over a couple of time zones, does that really affect them that much?
For some people, it really does. Like in my family, I know that like a couple of my family members, they get real fucked up when it comes to moving 2 time zones. Me, I'm like, when we went to Hawaii in my family, like that next day, everybody was zonked out. And I'm like, all right, hey, let's go. What are we doing? Like, because what I do before I get on the plane is I change my watch to the time it's going to be when we land. So, so my body clock, I'm already looking at the clock and I'm going, okay, it's going to be, whatever. Okay, we're going to get there at 2. And so my brain is already thinking about what time it's going to be, the interactions. And I go to bed at a decent hour when I arrive. So if it's 9 o'clock, I go to bed at 9 o'clock, and then I wake up my normal routine and I just do that. When I went to Africa, same thing. The bigger time change for me was going from I had to fly from Dallas to Detroit to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam and Ghana are they're in the same time zone, so it's just a vertical, flight. So
plus you had after Detroit, you were full of Little Caesars pizzas, so
right?
That,
I had the
your digestion,
bread. Right? They gave you crazy bread when you got off the plane, and when we got on the plane, you had Little Caesars as your meal, and then you get to Amsterdam, and then we had a 3-hour layover, took a little nap, hung out, met everybody who we were getting together with, and then it was another 8+ hour flight to go from Amsterdam to Ghana because Africa is fucking big. Anyone who says otherwise is a utter moron.
You're talking about the continent of Africa.
The continent
right?
of Africa.
Yeah, it is pretty big.
Yeah, it's very big.
Who said it's not big? Did somebody say?
Lots of people don't think it's that big, and it's just like, Africa is not that big. I'm like, just for me to go to Amsterdam to Ghana was over 8 hours.
Raise your hand if you failed geography.
Obviously. And then, like, because one of the guys over there talking about how they went to South Africa, and from Ghana to South Africa was another almost 7 to 10 hour flight, depending on where you're going in South Africa, because South Africa is fucking massive. So like Johannesburg to Cape Town, that's like a 2 hour flight. You know, I mean, that's a big deal. You know, so it's massive. So to fly that 8+ hours, relax, rest, I land, and I don't have to take my time from Amsterdam to Ghana. So I'm already set for my time zone. I get there, I go to sleep, I wake up the next day at 5, I go to the gym. Well, what they considered a gym at the it's a third world country, so what I thought was a gym and what they thought was a gym are two completely different things. But I got to work out in, and then I did the conference, I did everything, went to bed normal time. Whereas other people in our group, they struggled for the next 2 or 3 days, you know, with that. And they're like, "How are you doing this?" And I'm like, I set my clock to the time before I left, and I just followed that. I went to bed when I was tired. I got up and I just did my routine. You know, it's just, you know.
So what you're saying is that the Cowboys are in trouble and they're going to get smashed, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what you're trying to say with all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty much. Canada Spaceman says, I went to Africa and played cards with the natives. The vet, Zulus? No, I usually won. I can appreciate that one. Canada Spaceman, right. That was a good one.
Fine. We'll give Canada Spaceman that one.
Yeah. The one. The one.
Just the one.
Yeah.
The one. We the ones.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so that's a good transition.
Yeah, so that
I'll tell them where they can find me. How about that?
How about that? Do that.
Let's do that. All right, you can find me first and foremost at Opinion Haver everywhere on all your favorite social media platforms. I'm there. You can find me on the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. We've had a string of lovely guests, and we'll continue that tradition again this week. But you'll have to tune in to find out who. Impact Attack every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, right smack dab in the middle of football and Raw. Whenever that's going on, you can just stop what you're doing, watch the Impact Attack. Even if you're not a fan of Impact Wrestling, you can come and hang out with us, and we'll try to make it entertaining for you. My goal when I do shows, or if I'm talking about something, reviewing it, is to make people feel like they wanted to watch it, even if they really didn't.
Right.
But like to make it sound like, oh, I got to see what they're talking about. Like that's my goal as the entertainment aspect of this. And I hope it works. Not that you actually go out and watch it. God, no, don't do that. But I want you to have that feeling of, wow, the way he's describing it makes it sound like I should have seen it.
Right.
That's what I aim for your guys' entertainment. So even if you're not an Impact fan or a fan of, you don't care about Impact Wrestling or whatever, then that doesn't mean that you can't come out and hang out with us. And then we'll do, like, sometimes when we got extra time, we do a little AMA at the end and, let the chat just ask whatever they felt like asking or whatever they want to talk about. So that's a good time. We were talking a little bit about, we got this Wrestle Kingdom thing that New Japan and Noah are doing and stuff like that. Over on the PWC network, you can hear myself and Jimmy T do a whole review of Wrestle Kingdom 17. And that's free on all your favorite listening platforms. Personally, I use Google Podcasts just for their setup, but it doesn't matter what it is, Apple, Spotify, whatever you want to listen to. PWC network. You can look for that Wrestle Kingdom review if you want to hear about that. What else is going on? Q&A, live Q&As with Rip Rogers every Friday. Unfortunately, a lot of these times I'm streaming at that time on Friday, so I'm not always able to catch it live. But sometimes if I'm able to catch it live, I might actually be on Wrestling with Rip Rogers live Q&A with Rip and Von Lilas. I've been on a couple of times. And it's been fun. And you can always go back in the YouTube archives and check out those episodes with me on them, or any of the other episodes. You should definitely give that channel a subscribe. It's Rip Rogers. It's entertaining. What are you doing? Give me a break. And then let's face it, John. We're fat. We're all fat now. The holidays have just happened. I know that you're posting your gym pictures and your post-muscle movement musings and shit like that, but come on, you're fat. I'm fat. Everyone in the chat is fat, and everyone listening on Channel Attitude is fat. We had our chance before the holidays to rectify this with Stevie Richards Fitness and his discount. That's over now. We blew it. If you didn't take advantage of that discount on his fitness programs, you blew it. But there is good news. Stevie Richards and Big Mike Barron's, Big Stevie Cool, Big Mike Barron's now have the Big Fitness Show.
Yep.
So that's a new weekly podcast that premieres every Wednesday. It'll be up on YouTube after Next Level Wrestling Review is done. Sometime after that, Stevie uploads that video episode on YouTube. But he's assured me that it's available early in the morning on your podcast platforms if you just want to listen to the audio only. So I've listened to the first 3 episodes. They're all very entertaining and fun and informative. So definitely give the Big Fitness Show a listen. It may just help motivate you to not be fat like we all are after we ate turkeys and, Christmas hams and cakes and all kinds of candy and all this other stuff. There it is. Look, he's showing it. If you're not watching on the video, you see John Enright is holding up his Big Fitness Show with Steve Richards and Mike Barron's. I'm doing this off the dome, but you looking at it right there, you can see I pretty much covered it, right?
You did. Yeah, you nailed it. I was going to bring it up if you didn't. So it's been I've watched the first 3 on YouTube, but not realizing that they were on Spotify or whatever. I don't know why. They're
on everything that you like to listen to. Whatever. I don't care what iHeartRadio, Stitcher, whatever these weird little podcatcher things are that I don't know who the hell uses them, but somebody does because they exist. Yeah. It's going to be on all of those and on Anchor FM. That's where he started. That's where I started. My independent podcast, 2 AM with Sergio and the Vet, started there, and then we brought it over to Hameen, and then that show has since been discontinued, unfortunately, because Sergio had other, commitments in life that he wasn't able to do this anymore. Kind of like the reason I'm sitting here right now, because somebody else isn't here no more. But regardless, we're not blaming. We're just stating, and so doing Anchor is easy. Like this is just completely out of the blue, but since I thought of it, if anybody's out there thinking like, hey, I can do a podcast too, if you have that thought, Anchor will set it up for you. So if you download the Anchor app and go to anchor.fm, I think they're now owned by Spotify. They weren't when I started, but what they do is, you do everything with Anchor, right? And then they themselves will take care of all the distributing for you. So they set you up with ads and things like that so you can monetize it. It's very, very easy. It's so easy that, a chimp could do it. So if you wanted to get into the space and you're just not sure how to start, just go to anchor.fm and they'll explain it all for you and make it real easy. You could just record the whole thing from your phone. Like it'll sound shitty, but you could just literally take the Anchor app on your phone, hit the button, start recording, talk for 2 hours, stop it, post it, and it's already done. That's what I know. That's where Stevie, he's mentioned Anchor and using that on the Big Fitness Show. So they take care of a lot of that distribution effort for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, twitch.tv/opinion haver if you want to hang out with me while I play various and sundry games. If that's your thing. And that's another place that can be an AMA. Like if I'm not answering your questions in these chats here, if I'm not getting to you, then, maybe show up over there and, maybe I'll be able to talk to you and answer some questions there. Because the video games are really just a background and an excuse. Yeah. It's a good time. But that's enough out of me. John?
You can find me, usual, J Reezy Man on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, John Wright. February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, so getting prepared for that. I think I mentioned, this Tuesday we'll be dropping the Jackson Talks Everybody podcast. You're going to hear him and I's conversation. I've known Jackson for the last 4 or 5 years. I actually remembered way back in the day, and we discussed this, of when he wanted to start his nonprofit of You Are Love Life, and like 5 years ago. And there's a really cool moment at the end of the video. So check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We talk about just life and conversation, mental health, things along those lines, and then we go into teen dating violence awareness and that. So it was a really great conversation to have with him. That'll be Tuesday. If you listen to the Super J Cast, they're going to be running a PSA that I wrote for that. I think Big Ray is going to be having for all of his shows a PSA video and a hard copy to either read or have the video play on any of his podcasts. So it's a real passionate thing for me because I work with kids and teens, and they're dealing with a lot enough as is, and then have to deal with dating relationships where people treat them like shit and punch them or hit them or anything along those lines, or the other things that are done. They don't deserve that. So raising awareness for that to make it. That was actually one of the trainings that I was doing yesterday. I was getting ready for that and how we can learn to get the word out. So, that's my big thing. If you need help with mental health, you can reach me in all those places. Or if you just want to talk mental health and nothing else, no wrestling, no academy, no nothing along those lines, you can always email me, john@freedomhousepc.org. And as always, you can follow Smack Attack. You can send us emails as the show below. Being in the chat, you guys make the show what it is. But you can also tweet at us, Smack Attack HMG on Twitter, or email the show, smackattackhameenmedia@gmail.com. I have both of those now, so I can tweet from those accounts, and you can message us accordingly that way. And who knows, maybe we'll read your stuff. Maybe we'll open that sack and just unload it to everybody. I don't know. I've read some of Canada Spaceman stuff. Maybe we not open that sack, but we'll see.
I assume it's all him in there.
Yeah, pretty much right now. That's everything. It's all Canada Spaceman right now. It's like, okay, we'll see. But we have lots of ways to get a hold of us. You can listen to me and Triple D on the Academy. You can find us on Facebook there. You can message the show that way, or on Twitter. Find us. It's not that hard. And we are back to recording on a regular schedule. And he's talked about his situation and what he's been doing and why he's able to record more freely now. So go listen to find out what's going on with him. And if you have any Star Trek questions or anything you want to hear about, email us and talk to us and let us know, and we'll talk about that, or any guests you want to hear. We're working on some fun guests to have on the show. And we are legit working on maybe doing a live show where we will go live in the summer, because I'll have gone up there, and we both go to Ticonderoga to go see the actual original set that someone built and go check out all the sets, and then have a show to talk about that afterwards. So we're planning that trip, working on it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So that's where you can find us. Also, don't forget, this show will be up for a little bit on YouTube, but if you miss it, go to Channel Attitude and watch all the bevy of the Hameen Media shows. There's so many shows there to check out. You've got your locker rooms, you've got the Next Level Review, you've got the Impact Attack, you've got the Smack Attack, you've got everything there. And that's just under Hameen Media Group. That doesn't include everything with Vince Russo and all the shows that go along there. Well worth your money to go in. James says it's worth a cup of coffee or whatever. I don't know. I don't drink coffee, so it's worth whatever treat you know.
A cup of coffee costs more, but it will never be worth more.
No, that's right.
My goodness gracious. Like, your coffee order probably costs more than a subscription to Russo Brand and Hameen Media Group both. That right there is like, what is that? $10? Like $9.95 or $9.90 or something like that. Something like that.
Something like that.
And about just under $10, you know?
Yeah.
When's the last time you ordered one of your fancy coffees that takes like 10 minutes to order and it costs less than $10? You know?
I don't
never
drink coffee. I know no. So yeah, I don't deal with that either.
Well, I don't either, but I sure do know a lot of people that swear by this stuff and want to wait in long drive-through lines or whatever else just to get their little coffee with a caramel drizzle on top and whipped cream and probably some nuts
you
or
couldn't
something
do at
like
home.
that. Stuff you could do at home. And
if you wanted
put
to.
that coffee down and subscribe to Channel Attitude.
There you go. Just do that. My kid is at the point where he's like, nah, he just wants me to get him some Black Rifle coffee, and he just drinks it straight. He doesn't do any of that stuff, and he's like,
and that's like one coffee.
Yeah.
Like you take one day and say, you know what? Not gonna spend $10 on coffee today. You just got yourself a month of content. Mm-hmm. No, you didn't. You got yourself all of our content. Because you can go in the back catalog and listen to every show. You couldn't do that if you wanted to. You don't have the time. You're too busy waiting in lines for coffee. And while you're waiting in line for coffee, you might as well listen to the Channel Attitude shows from Russo's Brand and Hami Media Group.
Boom! Look, it's like we're professionals. There you go. Yeah, just go down to like one coffee a week and spend that extra time listening. And then when you go make your coffee or get your coffee, you can still be listening because it's going to take you 20 to 40 minutes to get your coffee anyway. So, that's where you can go and check out everything that's happened in the past. You could hear how the show began with Colin and Ray, and then James and Athers, who's still in the hospital. So guys, just keep sending him your thoughts and prayers with that. He's battling pneumonia and he's going to kick its ass, but any positive stuff that you can send to Athers is important. And then James and myself into this new iteration. I guess this is Smack Attack 5.0 now or something like that. I don't know. But make sure you can go check all those stuff out. All the other shows archives. It's worth the money to go check out Channel Attitude. Clip this for an ad read. I'm gonna tell James that. James, clip this for an ad read for Channel Attitude to go play all over the social medias. I don't know,
bro. I wish we had ads to read, man.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
I would love to do that. I would love to do my own copy over some of these like sponsors. Give me a Blue Chew ad. Give me a Hello Fresh ad. Give me a Athletic Greens. Give me, you know what I mean? Like give me something. I'll make something out of it.
Oh shit, we could have some fun with that. But yeah, if you want to go check that out, and I guess that's everything that we have. So next week is the go home show into Rumble as we head into Royal Rumble next week. So it feels like forever since the pay-per-views happened in the WWE, and so the question becomes the Rumble, San Antonio. Will there be a Rumble in the heartland of Texas, or will it just kind of be a little trimmer? Who knows? Let's check in and find out next week. And we hope you guys have a great week and later. And Vet, thank you for coming on again. I appreciate it, sir. And we will talk to y'all next week. Peace.